Thank you, Sunita. So next we have Anika Fardush. Anika is, she's a native New Yorker. She just finished up college, in fact, and when we asked to have a voice on this stage that didn't necessarily represent an organization or a network or a working group, we asked for those folks who are affected every single day by these issues in their communities to be on this stage, and that is so critical. So, without further ado, Anika Fardush.
It is such an incredible honor to represent my fellow sisters and brothers in faith and in solidarity today. As a Muslim American raised in New York City, not a single day since 9/11 has been without fear, without apprehension that my neighbors will suddenly want me to go back to my country, or that my hijab will be stripped off along with my First Amendment rights. But I continue to count my support and blessings, especially as someone who was raised in East New York. Unlike many of the bigots attending anti-Sharia protests today, I had the privilege of attending public school with Black, Latino, East Asian, West Indian, and South Asian people of color. I learned how to decolonize my mind and learned to ask questions when I was unaware. Of course, I had people come up to me and say salam, which means peace be upon you, but say it as a pickup line. But I also saw fellow Muslims in taxis and running local bodegas. New York City became my safe space. When my Black brothers were murdered for their melanin and trans people of color were killed for their identity, we took to the streets. When someone harassed my younger sister and I on the 7 train, my white allies defended me until we got off at the next stop. New York City cultivated a space of mutual understanding and fostered activism. And when it comes time to rise against oppression, know that our city woke up really early on a Saturday to speak out against oppressors. And I urge all of you to continue to do so in the many difficult years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Next we have Abir Kawas, who is the youth lead organizer at the Arab American Association of New York. She has worked with several organizations in the city around issues such as immigration, police surveillance, racial profiling. So without further ado, Abir.
Alright, Assalamu alaikum everybody. And Ramadan Mubarak to everybody who's celebrating. My name is Abir Kawas. I'm the lead organizer at the Arab American Association of New York. We are in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, the largest Arab neighborhood in New York City and the second largest in the country. At the Arab American Association, we know that Islamophobia is not just interpersonal, but it is also institutional. And with our base of women and youth, every single day we hear the real life effects of Islamophobic policies. We learn how they affect people in their jobs, in their homes, in their families, and mostly in their minds and in their hearts. We have generations of people who have grown up under the Islamophobic toxic environment that exists today, and we have generations who are continuing to inherit this toxic environment. And it seems like the efforts of Islamophobes are relentless. It's not enough that Islamophobes have taken away the rights of our community. It's not enough that we have been investigated and interrogated, put on no-fly lists, we go through security. It's not enough that thousands of us have been deported. It's not enough that we have endured surveillance in our mosques, in our restaurants, in our college clubs. It's not enough that the fabric of our society has been torn. The trust in our communities has been torn because we have lost trust in one another due to spies and undercovers coming into our community. It's not enough that every single time Muslim youth turns on the TV, they see a violent attack against one of their people. Every single time we go on scroll down our news feeds, we are seeing a hate crime, and hate crime so they're not just people yelling at you, as we saw in Portland last week. Something that is so commonplace for so many Muslims to be sitting on the MTA and have somebody yell at them can turn into an extremely violent event where people can be killed, like what happened in Portland 2 weeks ago. So it's not enough for these Islamophobes. They won't rest until they have instilled fear and racism and hatred into the hearts of the masses so that they can continue this vendetta against our community. But we say that it's enough. We say this ain't going down. Because the one problem with trying to instill fear and hatred into the masses of people is that we are the masses of people right here. We, you, and I, all of us standing here in allyship and solidarity with one another. We are standing here, we are existing, we are resisting with one another, and we are not just doing this by being people who are contributing to their society and making up the fabric of their society, the fabric of New York City, but we're also doing this by leading social justice movements in New York City. We are fighting for our rights, and we are fighting for the rights of all people in New York City. We are the Islam, we are the Muslims that they fear because we recognize truth amongst their falsehood, because we don't allow them to continue these policies that perpetuate their own power, because we stand here and we call for the power of the people, all the marginalized, all the disenfranchised, and that is scary to them. That is why they create these rallies, but we do not fear them. We know that together we will win. Thank you, everybody.
The committee's communications director is active in queer organizing and civic tech in addition to her interfaith work. Please welcome Michelle and Zainab.
Thank you all for coming today. Too often we stay within our communities with people who share our culture and values, people who work in the same industry as us, people with similar backgrounds and goals. However, when we reach out to those who are different, to the perennial other, with an open heart, respect, and genuine curiosity, our perspectives begin to broaden. When you get to know people with different backgrounds and points of view, you begin to learn from and appreciate the beautiful diversity within the human race. And that's really why we're all here today. And as we know, diverse communities are more resilient in the face of widespread hatred and bigotry. Diverse communities are more creative and inclusive with their organizing. Diverse communities stand up for the most disadvantaged and leave no one behind.
We love you all for being here today, but unfortunately that's not enough. These speeches, that's not what's going to build these diverse communities that Zina just spoke about. That's your challenge, that's up to you to make happen. So let's start with a small step. In a few minutes, we're all going to march together. Make sure you don't just march with the people you came with. Introduce yourself to each other. Say hi. March with strangers. Then take it to the next level. I mean, we always say how proud we are New York is so diverse, but is it really? Are we really fully embracing our diversity? Or are we just living some parallel existence and tolerating each other? So your next challenge is not to tolerate but learn to love this diversity. Make it a celebration because way too many people think it's a threat. Step out of your comfort zone and really get to know your neighbors and your colleagues. Open your homes to them. Be curious. Share and learn about each other's traditions and customs. Celebrate them together. That's what we do for the New York City Muslim Jewish Solidarity Committee. We'd love for you to join us, organize with us, and help us build real relationships between diverse New Yorkers. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle and Zaina. So next up, we have Sumaya from ISO. All right, Sumaya.
Thanks, everyone. My name is Sumaya, and I'm here with the International Socialist Organization. And the first thing I want to start with is that so many of us showed up here today, not just here, but also at Foley Square confronting the bigots, and that's amazing. And it's really important because right now we're living at a time where the far right in this country is growing. They're emboldened, they feel like they suddenly have all this power because their acts, their bigotry, their racism is championed by the president, by other politicians, and so they have power, and they feel emboldened to do all these acts, like what we saw in Portland 2 weeks ago, and the murder that we saw happen in Maryland about 10 days ago. And that's why it's extremely important for us to be out here today, here and at Foley Square, and to be resisting and building solidarity. Because love can take us so far, but what we really need is to build coalitions, to build solidarity, to understand that in order for Muslims to be free, immigrants need to be free. In order for Muslims to be free, Jews need to feel free. In order for Muslims to be free, we all need to have that freedom and equality. Racism, anti-immigration, anti-immigrant sentiment, Islamophobia, all of this must end. And the only way for it to end is for us to stand together, united against hate and bigotry. And what that means is we need to fight together. We need to stand together, we need to rise together, and we need to fight and resist together. And that's the only way we will win. And I'm sure many of you remember the airport protests only a couple months ago. What happened there? We all waited for politicians to do things, and guess what? They didn't. What changed the policy was us. We went to the airports. We went to JFK. We were there in the thousands, and we changed things. We reversed the Muslim ban. We let refugees in. That is the type of power that we have. That is what we're capable of, and we don't want to forget that. We don't want to lose that. Yes, elections are coming up, but who cares? That's not going to change anything. We are going to change. Us, the coalitions that are here, the ISO, JVP, Jews for Racial Economic Justice, Arab American Association, all CARE, all these different groups that are here, we are going to be that change. And everybody needs to remember that. Everybody needs to remember that next time there's a rally, next time there's a protest. And we need to remember that this is urgent, that this time is important, that the far right is growing. And that's why we need to be out there in the streets. And that's why we need to learn to work together, to compromise, and to build strong coalitions, to build a united front, to fight the racists, to fight the right. So I'm going to end here with a chant, and I want everybody to join in. Unite, unite, unite and fight the right. Unite, unite, unite and fight the right. Unite, unite, unite and fight the right. Thank you, everyone.
All right, folks. Next, we're going to have Reverend Chloe Breyer, who is an Episcopal priest in the Diocese of New York. From 2000 to 2013, she founded and directed the Cathedral Forums on Religion and Public Life at the Cathedral of St. John of the Divine. Following 9/11, she also worked on an interfaith initiative to rebuild a mosque in Afghanistan, which coincidentally is where I'm from. And so without further ado, Reverend Chloe Breyer.
Someone said New York City is the greatest city in the world. Can you say New York City is the greatest city in the world? New York City is the greatest city in the world. Well, just if you had any doubts about it, look around you today. Turn to your neighbor and see their face. Just look, the sun is out, the weather is warm, and anti-Islamophobia rallies abound. They're here, they're there, they're everywhere. And what's more, look at today's schedule. If you decide you want some exercise, go over to Brooklyn a little later in the afternoon and you can have a Ramadan run, a 5K event. And then if you get hungry, and some of us will be more hungry than others of us, there is an interfaith iftar over at Cadman Plaza, and all are welcome. Please see my colleague Iman Bukadoum right there if you want some information about it. Well, there are a few spoilers perhaps, but mostly it's those who are envious of the good time we're having here in New York. And there's not much we can do about it. But to continue to have fun, continue to celebrate and enjoy our diversity, and to continue to remember that Muslim New Yorkers are the citizens of our city that make our city rich and beautiful and vibrant. We know that at the Interfaith Center of New York. Well, in addition to working at the Interfaith Center, I'm an Episcopal priest, and I wanted to share with you some of the things that we pray at church. And in particular, when we pray about cities, here is what we say. Bear with me for a second. Behold, we ask God, and visit, we pray, the cities of the earth. Renew the ties of mutual regard which form our civic life. Send us honest leaders. Help us fight poverty, prejudice, and oppression, that peace may prevail with righteousness, and justice with order, and that men and women from different cultures, different religions, and differing talents may find in each other the fulfillment of their humanity. Thank you all for being here.
All right, folks, we're almost about to march. We have just a few speakers left. I'd like to introduce Yasmin Kamel. She's from... Woo! Make some noise for Yasmin! All right, we got a lot of supporters for Yasmin here. That's awesome. So Yasmin is an immigrant and Palestine solidarity activist. She's an organizer with Bay Ridge for Social Justice. And so without further ado, Yasmin.
No hate, no fear. Muslims are welcome here. No hate, no fear. Muslims are welcome here. Assalamu alaikum. I'm really glad I get to speak to you all today. I don't have too much time, but there are a few things I want to say. A little while ago, I got to take a look at a tiny, pathetic group of people not too far away from here who are trying to convince the city and trying to convince the public here that Muslims are dangerous, that Muslims are synonymous with sexism, that Muslims are synonymous with oppression, that Muslims are synonymous with terror. And we're here to call them out on that lie. We're here to let them know that Muslims are peace, Muslims are workers, Muslims are neighbors, they are part of this country, they're part of this country's history, and we welcome them and we stand in solidarity with them. The thing is, they're right about one thing. There's something called terror here in this country. It's called white supremacy. It's called the KKK, that's been emboldened by the current administration and other white supremacist organizations. It's the white man called Jeremy Christian who decided to harass a couple of women of color and then murder two men who decided to stand up for them and defend them in Portland. It's the police violence that's taking place against black and brown men in this country and black and brown women, and the men that are being murdered on a daily basis by the police in this country. It's ICE invading people's homes and kidnapping people and taking them away from their families. It's the refusal to let refugees into this country with the excuse that they're dangerous to us, when in fact they're fleeing the war that was in part created by this government's foreign policy. This is the terror that we need to be fighting. And the way that we should be fighting that is by first demanding that we live in a sanctuary city and do that in a meaningful way. That is, no surveillance of Muslims, no harassment of Muslims, no justification of targeting Muslims by the police, by the FBI, by surveillance. That is demanding asylum for all immigrants and refugees. And that is standing together not only to say that we love Muslims, but that we will stand and defend them against this tiny group of hateful bigots who are across the way from here, but also against the Trump administration and all his supporters. And we stand not only to say that we love Muslims, but we will defend them, we will stand against Muslim bans, we will stand against policies against refugees, we will stand against policies that try to outlaw immigration, that try to decriminalize immigrants, and try to take them away from our communities and deprive us of the work that they've been doing here and the contributions that they've been making to our society. And we stand against war because it's justified with Islamophobia. We have to say no to war. We have to say we are not afraid of Muslims here in New York or Muslims across the Atlantic from us. We will stand against killing Muslims over there and detaining and deporting Muslims over here. And just one last chant. From Mexico to Palestine, border walls are a crime. From Mexico to Palestine, border walls are a crime. Solidarity.
How you feeling? So in our peace and in our love and our solidarity, we want to chant out something really nice and loud for all of New York City to hear us. All right, so let's start with a basic: no hate, no fear. Muslims are always welcome here. No hate, no fear. Muslims are 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 welcome here. Let's make it even louder and stronger for everyone on the other side, every which way to hear us. The people united will never be defeated. Are you ready to chant out that truth? We'll say it 5 times. Ready? The people united will never be defeated. 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 Woo! And now, because we are all standing here and this is what our nation is about, standing together, people of all faiths, all colors, all socioeconomic backgrounds. This is what democracy looks like. And everybody in this nation needs to look at it because they want to steal that away from us, but it doesn't happen here in NYC, not in our watch. So let's do it 5 times. Show us what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Can't hear you. Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show us what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show us what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
My people, thank you.
The New York City Immigration Coalition, Carlene from the New York City Immigration Coalition is going to speak. And I could not be, let's just say that the New York City Immigration Coalition has been also an instrumental partner in making this a safe, loving, empathetic environment. So without further ado, Carlene.
Good morning, New York City. Let's hear you. So I'm Carlene Pinto. I work with the New York State Immigrant Coalition, and I want to make sure everyone knows that we are a coalition that represents 200 member organizations from Buffalo through Brooklyn, and Bear is one of my very strong organizers, and she represents her entire community. So give it up for Bear, who is on the front lines every day. And when we talk about this anti-immigrant, anti-Muslim criminalization that this federal government is pushing upon us, I am choosing to wear a Promesa t-shirt on the eve of the Puerto Rican Day Parade because our brothers and sisters in Puerto Rico are in crisis. And so I want to make sure, not only do the folks know that we are so engaged in the immigration issues right here, but we need to start talking about migration and what happens when our countries and our islands lose the socioeconomic capital and that they can no longer feed their families. That is what causes migration. And we have 11 million people in this country that are undocumented because we have an immigration system that does not work. And I'm sorry if I'm real fired up, but I got off a plane last night at 11:30 from Chicago because they're going through the same thing that we are. So let's give it up for every city that is resisting resisting xenophobia, that is resisting Islamophobia, that is resisting 45 and Secretary Kelly. Let's give it up. Let's put your fist in the air for freedom and truth, because we need to keep fighting. So to our partners at CARE, who we march together, bringing tens of thousands of people together, African communities together, that's fighting for Haitian TPS. We have 50,000 Haitians that will probably be deported by December of this year if you do not do something. So let's take this as a call to action for our Muslim brothers and sisters. Let's take this as a call to action for our African immigrant brothers and sisters. Let's take this as a call to action to every father during Father's Day that is separated from their children, whether it is the prison on Rikers Island or whether it's Delaney Detention Center in Texas. One final thing about the Puerto Rican Day Parade and my Latino brothers and sisters, on this eve, we are no stranger to criminalization. When we talk about the shirt I'm wearing right now, I was just told, as it was given to me by an organizer with the New York State Nurses Association, that I cannot wear this to the Puerto Rican Day Parade because this is now a symbol of terrorism. Let's be very clear that there are 3.5 million Puerto Ricans on the island of Puerto Rico that are U.S. citizens. Let's know that 300,000 of them came mainland last year because there is no education and no opportunity for them because of our Congress and the Fiscal Control Board that is exploiting them. And let's be clear that in Puerto Rico, there were issues that happened in the 60s and 70s that greatly devastated the island and gave rise to the Young Lords Party here in New York City, who are also categorized as terrorists. We need to be very clear about the words they use when they criminalize our communities, and we must fight back every single time for truth and justice. Let's put those fists up in the air. No justice! No justice! No justice! Thank you, everyone. And I want to make a very clear call to action. We've been in the streets every single day since 45 has taken office, and we know that there are opposition. There are groups of people that are inserting themselves in our peaceful actions and trying to cause divisiveness and disturbances. So if the organizers of any rally are calling for all of us to march unified to a separate location, it is because we can no longer put ourselves in situations where the press and the media get a narrative that we are indulging ourselves in the hatred that they are throwing at us. So let's promise ourselves to love each other, to stand up for one another, and things like the Japanese internment camp will never ever happen again. Let's give it up!
Tell me what democracy looks like. All right, folks, we're about to march. I want to thank you for coming. I want to thank you for standing for love over fear. I also want to make one last point. We are not, and I repeat, we are not marching to Foley Square. And that is by design. Because when they do go low, we must go high. When they go low, we go high. You don't fight hate with hate. You don't confront when other folks are trying to woo you in. That is their design. That is not ours. So we're going to march with love. We're going to march with empathy. We will not be confrontational. We will show this country and this city what our heart of our democracy looks like. We're ready to go, folks. In about 2 minutes, we're going to be marching on. So just so you know the route, we're going to be marching to Park 51. Then we're going to go north to Warren. And then we're going to end up back here at City Hall Park. Once again, thank you for coming. And let's go, folks. When we're marching forward, we are never going backwards.